Somebody's barking.
Uh-oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday night service. I had to shut the door. The doggy is upstairs barking away. I never had those problems before. So welcome to the Wednesday night service here at the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Paul Pursuti. I'll be your host tonight, and we have a wonderful evening planned for you. Hello, church family. Richard Robinson. I bring you every Wednesday night. He's my mentor in a lot of arenas here at the center, and I'm so glad to have known him and honor him on Wednesday nights. So we also call it the Oasis, the midweek Oasis. And why do we do that? Well, we do that because we recognize that Wednesday's in the middle of the week, and it's a place where we can be together as a community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays. We present our Wednesday nights in our version of a Satsang style, where a speaker speaks and we open it up for a discussion that we hope will be and know and is always informal, intimate, and rich. So settle in your chairs and get ready, because we have a wonderful, wonderful evening planned for you tonight. But before we go into that, let's remember what our annual theme is. Our annual theme is Wonder, Wonder Everywhere. And this is the last Wednesday night of the month where we're celebrating living everyday wonder relationships. And I know our speaker is going to tie that into his talk tonight. If you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here. You found us on our website. Also on our website is a place you can sign up for our Village News newsletter. Please check that out, submit your email address, and once a week you'll get a nice email about all the activities going on here at the Oakland Center. We'd like to stay connected with you. If you haven't done it already, we're going to ask you to make sure you turn off your camera and your microphone. That will improve the quality of the transmission in Zoom, and you'll be able to hear things better. And stay tuned for our special and important announcements. We will be reading the New Minister's Covenant together tonight, which is a ritual that we practice. Oh, Wednesday night, and closing on this theme, and I can't think of a better way to do it with the person that's speaking tonight, and that's Practitioner Zoe Muro. Zoe wears many hats at Oakland Center. He serves as a practitioner. He co-leads the Compassionate Attention to Loss Ministry, also known as CALM. It's a gathering that meets every first Sunday after service. He leads a Thursday evening small group discussion. He's the membership and volunteer services coordinator. He serves as our president of the board of trustees. He works with our compliance team to ensure our COVID safety, and he helps me out Sunday mornings making sure that there's coffee and tea for all of us to enjoy. Now, if that's not enough, and that's more than enough for 10 people, he's also the host of the New Thought Media Network show. So write this down if you can, or remember it, or ask me later. The New Thought Media Network. And he has his own show on there called Choice, Your Creative Superpower. It's also available on Facebook and YouTube. And he has a private practice as a transformational coach at livingfullywellness.com. We are so fortunate that he is here tonight. He has carved out of his busy schedule to be our speaker, and he's going to discuss the topic of nature. God is all around us. Totally about relationship. So Zoe, with that in mind, I welcome you. We're glad you're here. And before you launch into your topic delivery, if you're willing, can you open us in prayer?
I'm more than happy to. Thank you, Paul. All right, folks, let's take a breath. We'll allow that breath to remind us of the unity and the communion that each of us has with the one, the source and the creator, the sustainer of all that is. When we say that God is all there is, we know without a doubt, as we look around us, as we look within, that each and every one of us is connected. connected in a way that is inseparable, connected in a way that links us through our divinity, no matter how different we might be in external facets of our lives, in our experiences. When we look within, we are all the same in that we are all divine. We are all of the one. And so understanding that that relationship, the strongest relationship we could ever imagine, is our foundation. We go into this evening's talk with an understanding that we are indeed connected. And so we wish to understand how that connection outplays in our life. We wish to see how each and every one of us can be this incredible place where the light and the love of the world shines. Knowing that this is our legacy, knowing that this is our history, knowing that this is our future, knowing that this is our moment, I give thanks. I give thanks for all the gifts that we are given. I give thanks for each and every one of you who are attending this evening or who will hear this at another time. I give thanks for each and every soul on this planet, because it is the most incredible, incredible collection of exquisite divinity one could imagine. And so I release my word to the love and to the law of the one. And so it is. All right. Well, thank you, Paul, for that introduction. I don't think we have any more time. So good night, folks. All right, we'll go a little bit longer. So I don't think that I have spoken at a single Wednesday night service where I simply launched into the topic of the night without wordsmithing or messing around with it in some way. And I'm not going to break that pattern tonight. So as Paul said, our topic is nature, God is all around us. I agree. And see, I'm working really hard not to use the word but here. And spoiler alert, folks, nature God is within us. Nature God is us. So the way I've chosen to interpret this topic is that it's about the relationship that we have with God and with nature. So let's dig in. I mean, I know actually next month, the topic is going to be all about nature, but I like this connection. I like this combination. I mean, let's face it. I've got a license plate on my car that says Trail Zo. Yeah, nature is a big thing for me. Before I came to the Oakland Center, I would post each Sunday on Facebook about my time in church, which was time I spent out on the trails. Up until just a couple of years ago, I was a very avid trail runner. And I'd spend hours and hours on the trails. I'd be soaking up the sounds, the sights, the smells of one of the most wonderful playgrounds a person could ever want, the Oakland Hills. And the farther out I got on the trails, the fewer people I'd encounter. And this incredible feeling of belonging filled my spirit. It's funny because I sought out the more remote places to get away from people, and yet I felt more connected. And I realized it was because I was connecting with my true self. I was connecting with the beauty and the tranquility of the woods. I was connecting with the world in a way that had never really been there for me. I found that each day brought a new experience, a new sight, a new scent. And I always made sure to build in enough time, not only to get in great cardio, because trail running is wonderful exercise, but I also wanted time to sit, to meditate, to contemplate, to just be. Being in nature became my lifeline, truly. It was my lifeline to a fuller, more rewarding life that, quite frankly, wasn't always true for me. I grew up in New York City. I lived there for 40 years. And I would say that we compartmentalized what we thought of as nature. We kept our fish in our aquariums, our animals in zoos, our trees and our flowers in parks and botanical gardens and arboretums. And in general, we believed nature was something you visited. All of which actually coincided very nicely with my beliefs at that time about God. He, that old white guy with the beard, was in heaven. But I could visit, and I could call upon God at any of his convenient churches. Well, not just any church. Actually, I had to be at a church that was conforming to the faith of my family, and absolutely not a synagogue or a mosque. No. So for me, God was as compartmentalized as much as nature was. Until I started to travel. And I had the opportunity to experience a wide and varied landscape and to see the vastness, the enormity, the complexity of nature. Whenever I look at the things that I say I am so privileged to have, that is definitely one of them. Because there are so many kids in this world, so many people in this world who never get a chance to experience any of that. And I sincerely hope that we can somehow manage to bring all of that to as many people as possible. Now, what really brought God and nature together for me were two specific and very different experiences. One was a whale watching trip when I was back east. And, you know, I very rarely found strong spiritual experiences when I was back east. But this one was amazing. I remember watching the landing where we started our trip as it kind of receded into the grayness and disappeared, replaced by the vastness of the Atlantic Ocean. I don't think I ever felt so small, so vulnerable, so disconnected, which was pretty freaky. And then a whale was spotted, and then another. I could see the enormity of this whale, its powerful tail propelling it as it breached, and suddenly I was connected to that being. And suddenly, instead of being isolated and merely bobbing about on the waves, I was connected to the enormity of the ocean itself. It was mind-blowing to have such a different perspective, such a different sense of identity. I really wept. I told people it was the salt water that was spraying in my eyes, but yeah, I was truly overwhelmed. Second experience was quite a few years later. I was in the Sonoran Desert, driving home, driving at night with a friend of mine from Arizona. We had spent time at the Grand Canyon, and it was absolutely breathtaking. And I marveled at the way the light from early morning to late evening changed the contours of the canyon, changed the colors of it, changed so many different things, bringing out the array of features and colors. I could have stayed there for days, but we did have to head back. So we're driving back towards Phoenix in the desert. And it was about as dark can possibly be. At that point in my life, I was very much a city dweller. I don't think I had ever before actually been that far outside of a city. And I'd certainly never been in a situation where the lights of a city didn't dilute and obscure the night sky. So we're driving along, and I could feel the car start to slow down. And I turned to my friend who was driving. I was like, oh God, what's wrong? How are we going to survive in the desert? We're going to be stranded here at night. What are we going to do? And she was totally amused. And she assured me that everything was absolutely fine. She simply stopped the car. She said, come on, walk with me. Okay. So we walked along for a while until she found what she felt was a good place to stop. And she said, very simply, look up. That was my first experience of a truly clear, unobstructed sky. And I was absolutely enthralled, completely overwhelmed. I had no idea how beautiful a night sky could be. The vastness, the richness of the blanket of stars that stretched as far as my vision allowed. There are no words. I'll just go with astounding. I had that same feeling of being so small and yet so connected. In this case, I felt so connected as if to feel that I myself were as enormous as this galaxy of stars above me because I was part of this. I belonged. I was at peace. Yes, I wept openly. My heart just opened up and there was this flood of energy that just kept flowing. And I prayed. Prayer of thanksgiving. Prayer of joy. I didn't know then just how right I was when I felt that sense of belonging, of oneness. Carl Sagan puts it this way. He said, the nitrogen in our DNA, the calcium in our teeth, the iron in our blood, the carbon in our apple pies were made in the interiors of collapsing stars. The cosmos is within us. We are all made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself. This past week, one of our readings was a quote from Neil deGrasse Tyson. Although I don't think we used that quote on Sunday. We used a different one. But it was part of the writings that went out during the week. Anyway, I found that quote, and I found that was actually only part of the quote. So here's the whole quote. The atoms of our bodies are traceable to stars that manufactured them in their cores and exploded these enriched ingredients across our galaxy billions of years ago. For this reason, we are biologically connected to every other living thing in the world. We are chemically connected to all molecules on Earth. And we are atomically connected to all atoms in the universe. We are not figuratively, but literally stardust. How glorious is that? That word connected here speaks to more than just an association or a linkage. It speaks to unity, to communion. It speaks to a sharing and a belonging. Indigenous cultures have celebrated the unity of all nature for millennia. I guess that you most likely have heard of the seventh generation principle. The seventh generation principle is based on an ancient philosophy of the, got to get this correct, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, otherwise known as the Iroquois Nation, which, by the way, is recognized as the oldest democracy in the world. And it's also believed to be the model of the American Constitution. Well, this principle asks that we are mindful of the 7 generations coming after you in your words, in your work, and in your actions. And to remember the 7 generations who came before you. Similarly, all the way across the world, the Maori, the indigenous people of New Zealand, they have an understanding of connectivity over time as well. And the way that decisions are made with reference to the likely impact on the mokopuna's mokopuna, which translates to literally the next 4 generations, but encompassing all future descendants. Unfortunately, it seems that though most of humanity has forgotten or can't even fathom that we, each of us, are part of nature, just as surely as are the trees, the birds, the clouds, the stars, that what we do today, how we show respect or disrespect to the world around us, has a profound effect going forward. It's funny. Well, actually, it's sad. But for us to be able to ignore or discredit a cause or a person, we seem to need to find as many dissimilarities as possible between us and them, or between our cause and their cause. Why? Because if we see the similarities, if we see the points of connection, it makes it too uncomfortable. It makes it too difficult. It makes it too complicated to denigrate or disavow or ignore that person or that cause. What would happen if we, humankind, recognized that we're not users of nature or even caretakers of nature, but we are nature? Perhaps we would recognize that destroying species and habitats was not something that enabled progress. No. Maybe we'd understand that it was quite literally hastening our own destruction. Every time we pollute the ocean, every time we deforest parts of the world, every time we kill off species after species, we are bringing ourselves closer to becoming extinct. And frankly, I don't know that the world, that the earth would notice our passing. We haven't been here all that long. And yet we have had this unbelievably profound detrimental effect on this planet. And we have had this profound detrimental effect on one another because of our ability, what seems like our desire to find differences, to deny connection, to deny relationship. If we did understand this, perhaps we would accept responsibility for this planet far more seriously and effectively. Perhaps we would see that the same star stuff, the same God stuff that makes up all matter on Earth and throughout the cosmos, perhaps we would see it as precious, as sacred, as divine. In this month's Science of Mind magazine, Reverend Dr. Andriette Earle was writing about her experience in nature and how it informed her way of being in the world. She said, excuse me, she said, I am becoming ever more adept at recognizing and acknowledging the face of God and discerning the divine presence in all life. In all life. She didn't limit it to those people who share her spiritual beliefs. She didn't limit it to people who share her values or perspectives, her political leanings, or her experiences. She didn't even limit it to people. No, she spoke of recognizing and acknowledging the face of God and discerning the divine presence in all life. Perhaps we will see that because of that unity, because of that oneness, the health, the well-being of each individual, each creature, each creation is interdependent one with the other. And we will treat the earth and all its inhabitants with greater respect, with love, with compassion. Perhaps we will see the face of God, the face of the thing itself, the face of divinity, wherever we look, at whomever we look. Perhaps we will hold the earth and one another in love and respect. Perhaps. But it needs to be a conscious choice. It needs to be a choice that is made with firm resolve. It needs to be a choice that is backed by powerful action. It needs to be a choice that comes from the heart as well as the mind. It needs to be a choice that allows our divinity to shine through. It needs to be a choice that recognizes our relationship to all. So choose wisely and help make this a world that does truly work for all. Thank you. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts on all of this, whether you're going to talk about your experience of nature, your experience of God and nature, how you see the interconnectedness of loving spirit with humanity, with God, whatever came up for you, because if this is a good talk, it will have sparked an interest. It will have sparked questions. I love to hear that people didn't get answers from what I said, but it caused them to ask questions of themselves, of how they live their lives. So, floor is open, folks. What have you got?
So if you want to contribute, please turn on, stay in gallery view. That will help. And turn on your camera and raise your hand like this, or use your reaction button to raise your hand like that. And address so. And Peter will be our moderator and he'll recognize y'all.
Lucian, hey, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Zoe. Just so many gems you dropped. What I really heard in all this is accepting all of God, not just the parts that I like, not just the parts that I think are okay. Like those parts I don't understand, I don't have to understand it. but can I see it as God? And so that goes for the things I may see on the news that I allow to upset me, or all of that is God. And if we can just start there, accepting that, seeing that as an extension of ourselves, I feel like that is the beginning of a world that works for everyone. So thank you for that. I really love this one. I can tell you were really just letting it flow out of you. Really awesome talk. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucian. Thank you.
Well, okay. Thank you, Dr. Judith. Go ahead.
I found myself thinking about about generations that preceded me and the generations that come after me. And I think it's something that I have to think about for a while. As far as in my own life, I've thought as far back as grandparents. I've thought as far forward as, well, at this point, great grandchildren. But the vastness of what you're talking about, that goes on and on and on, and also goes back and back and back. It's a new way, and will take some thinking, because I think about, when I think if there's a way that I can help people that I feel, it's just another being, I'm connected, I can get that. And even with them, I think about how could I help someone now, someone who has children or grandchildren, how could I help them now? I've read about indigenous tribes who have that long, long view. And I was glad to hear you and to take it in and to think about star stuff. And that not just, I think I had only come as far as thinking that I am part of something, I am made of star stuff. I had come that far. I hadn't really thought about that. Well, not just me. How about all the redwoods? How about all the animals? So it's such a wide, vast way to take in. So I thank you for that. I'm turning my head in a direction of expansion, rather than just for specific ways to think about things that are happening now. So thank you. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you, Judith. It gives the term narrow-minded a whole different meaning.
Yeah, there, right, narrow-minded. Okay.
But let's turn it around and let's talk broad-minded instead then.
Yes, let's go. All right.
Maureen, go ahead. Maureen? Great.
Hi.
Hello.
So you talked about a lot about like the, nature, and basically that, if we are with the animals and that they're going extinct, and then eventually we might go extinct. And so for me, and like how disconnected New Yorkers or you were from nature, excuse me. And so the way I have been kind of feeling about it is that we as a human race take the saying that God created us in his image to like this higher, where we think we're better than, or we own this planet and we can do whatever we want. And so I just would like to bring that into the room. It's like there is like this thing in our culture that I'm feeling, that it's all about humans, what's best for humans, no matter the thought of what's happening to the actual earth that sustains us. And so you just brought that up, and I just wanted to point that out. I don't quite know what to do about that, because I feel like we're up against a pretty deep, entrenched idea about that we were made in the image of God and we are somehow better than the place that sustains us. So if anybody has any comments on that, that would be great.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that created in the image of God got turned around the way it did. All right, because we're looking at it and saying, God looks like us. God is like us. No, we are like God. God doesn't have our qualities. We have God's qualities. It's really got screwed up.
Go ahead.
So Zoe, thank you so much for your talk. Your talks are always so meaningful and well thought out, and just move. That's the best way I can, like in a forward direction. It's very easy to follow. I definitely related to growing up in New York. I mean, and we kept our nature in places. That is so true. And as a kid, I spent my life trying to get out of the city into nature. And, I grew up with, especially my mother, she just didn't understand it. You could not pry her out of New York City. And I remember when I moved to my house in the hills, the first time I saw a possum on the deck, I thought it was a giant rat, like the ones we used to see on the New York City subways, because I had never seen a possum in my life. It reminds me of, when I did move to California, one of the things is I got a little bit more further away from traditional Judaism, and I found sort of my religion in nature and going hiking and in the woods. And that was where I was most at peace. And, in the last 3 or 4 months, I feel very, very blessed to live in the woods, live up in the redwood trees. And, I having had the accident I had, not being mobile, I was still able to get out on the deck and look at the redwoods. And, that's like kept me going in a lot of cases. And the thing I really, really appreciated you saying is, for us to change things, it has to be a really conscious decision. And it does, because I feel like, kind of as Maureen was saying, many, many people rationalize, well, there's a problem out there, but I don't have to do anything about it. And I'm not part of the problem. And, it's very easy to just be complacent. And I think we all need to, even if it's our small part, we all have to pay attention and, do something, but make a conscious decision to make it, to do that. So thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. A lot of what is wrong with the world is because of ignorance. And, people think that, we have so much, it's this strange bastardization of abundance. When people came to this country and they saw buffalo across the plains, and it would take days for the herd of buffalo to actually go by, they're like, we're golden. We don't have to worry about this at all. We can kill thousands of them. It would be absolutely fine. Well, let's take a modern day equivalent of it. You go to Costco and you look on the shelves and there's thousands of rolls of toilet paper until there isn't. And then everybody panics and freaks and starts conserving. People need to understand that this isn't a Costco that gets everything delivered all the time. There are finite resources. You know, there are over 7 billion people on this planet. Do you know how many people scientists actually believe we can sustain on this planet? It's something like 1.4 billion. Okay? In just my lifetime, the population of the planet has, I believe, tripled. Ignorance is not bliss. We need to educate people. We need to get people to see. We need to get people to engage. So the more that we talk about these things, the more that we put it out there, the more that we elect officials who believe in science, greater the possibility that we can make a change. Amen. I'll be getting down off my soapbox now.
So I would
Sherry. Okay.
Oh, there's Sherry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Peter. Peter's going to recognize Sherry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Hi, Zoe. Hi, everybody. You said so much. Oh, gosh, so much has been going through me as you've been talking. I have been feeling in despair for a while, and yet I can see that there are pockets of healing that's happening. The Pope going up for the indigenous peoples to personally say, I'm sorry, is a step, it's a beginning. Although he's not ready to take the doctrine of discovery away yet, which is, I don't know if you know, but that's the doctrine that was written that said the indigenous lands could be taken over by the white people. But that's a start. It's a start. But what I'm looking at, like what everybody else is saying right now, is the urgency of what's happening on the planet, and the patriarchy that I believe is beginning to break down, and a consciousness shift starting to happen. I don't know if I'll see that in my lifetime, but my hope is that it's coming. But I guess where I get stuck is I don't see the news as God. I just cannot do that. If anyone has a way of showing me how Matt Gaetz screaming about womanhood is God today, or the Supreme Court justices who have the power to say that the EPA cannot be regulated anymore. I'm looking at power and what? How do you use power? And I understand that God is in the Supreme Court justices as well. I understand that, but it's but right now I'm just I'm looking for the hope, and I'm looking for how can small group of people do something around this enormous shift that's going on in the planet. And my only way for me to survive is to believe that actually humans are on their way out. And it's not going to be now or in my lifetime. I think the planet is going to survive. I just think it's going to kick all of us off. And whether it's 1,000,000 years from now, or 500 years from now, or whenever, but it has begun. That process has begun. If we do not do the urgency that you're talking about, Freya, well, I shouldn't talk about her. She's not here, but her belief in this, and there's so many of us who have this strong belief. How do we get together around it, or where? And so I'm not trying to be a downer on this. I'm feeling my own angst about it. And also I'm thinking, one of my teachers, as you know, I've studied with the indigenous people for a while. And And one of the teachers said, he went up to his teacher in the Andes, a shaman, and he said, how can you live with so little? How can you have one pair of shoes and just the food that you eat and you don't know what's going to happen the next day? And the guy said, come here, come here. And so he went with him and he looked outside and it was nighttime. And he said, it was morning, early morning. And he said, look at these Alps. Look at the splendor of the Alps and the snow on it. Now, you tell me who's poor and who isn't. And it was a turning point for my teacher. And it didn't matter that he had 3 pairs of shoes. You know, the richness was out there in the nature and the closeness to the land and the beauty. So that's what I'm striving to live. And I'm not there yet. I'm still in Martinez, California. And that's where I am until I'm not. But my heart is wanting to be living in nature far more than I am. So I guess the answer is, rather than feeling like I'm stuck or a victim, I need to just figure out ways to be in nature around here, find those trailheads that you're talking about or something. So yeah, the whole God, we're all God thing. I've been around a long time and I'm struggling with, we're all God. And when I look at what's happening and the atrocities. So, but I really love hearing from you, and I needed to hear you from my heart tonight. So thank you. I'm done.
Well, remember, folks, that our topic for the month was relationships. So even though we're talking a lot about nature, we're talking relationships.
Yes.
We have to relate to one another.
Yes, yes.
Find that in.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know. And it's a really tough one. And I do want to end on a positive note. The Webb telescope. I don't know if you guys have been seeing the pictures, but oh my God, have you, Zoe? Have you been seeing the pictures that have been coming back from space on the Webb telescope?
I haven't recently.
The pictures are from 13 billion years ago. And the oneness of that whole thing of what we are and what we came from. So I just would urge everyone to take a look at some of those pictures. They're gorgeous. Yeah. So thanks.
Thank you, Sherry. You know, I just want to remind people that humanity has not been on this planet very long. We are a very, very young species, very immature. And nature has a way of either maturing you and changing you or saying adios.
That's heavy, so.
Let's be like cockroaches. Haven't cockroaches been around the longest?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
Our ants.
Heavy. That's heavy, but I want to first of all thank Zoe as we get ready to start wrapping up the event, and what I'm going to post in chat right now, and I relate to what Maureen and all of and Sherry and all of us we've lived through. Right now I'm posting in chat his, please check out the Thought Media Network. And once you get there, Zoe has a show it's called Choice, Your Creative Superpower. Mm-hmm. And it's through, here's Paul on his soapbox, so please bear with me. It's because we have a place like this behind me where we can come to get refreshed and rejuvenated in the truth of who and whose we are, regardless of what goes on outside of these gates, and even sometimes inside of these gates. We have a special place where we can coexist, where our mission is to create a world that works for everyone. And the tenet of our philosophy as Ernest Holmes, and and we do it every once in a while, maybe we'll do it again soon, is he wrote the book around you and the power of you. And it all starts, that whole spark, that whole ignition, that whole stardust creation thing started with a single thought of expansion. And that how powerful we really are. And the media and all these activities and these atrocities, we've lived through 2 years of a pandemic that hasn't happened in over 100 years. We're in a very special time. We're very special beings, and we have the power to power through it, in my opinion. And because we have a Wednesday and because we have a Sunday, and we have great ministers and great philosophies and a founder that believed in the power of us, I think we're just navigating. If Zoe, would you just take a minute and dig out what you did in the meditation and Jeff's book and read that paragraph to give us a little bit of that hope, Sherry, that you're talking about? It ties in the theme. That was so profound. And he was in these gates and he's still here with us. His legacy lives on. Go ahead, Zoe, if you would read that, maybe that'll give us some sense of direction that we might need right now.
We are, as a culture and as a species, in the midst of a great awakening, remembering that there is a nature of things, an inherent divine design. The more aware of and in alignment with that design we can become, the more we will experience the deep desires of our hearts and souls. And perhaps together, we can truly create a world that works for everyone.
Wow, thank you.
He walked and was present and our leader for 5 years. How blessed we were. We're all devotees and experienced him, and he's what drew us here. And if his words can't get us out of and through, not out of, but through this situation right now, I don't know what else can. And I encourage you again to check out Zoe's great choice, Your Creative Superpower. That's it in a nutshell. We have a choice here and how we can develop our superpower. He's brilliant. We're so fortunate to have him. We have the magnificent Lucian Baker, ancestor of the Reverend E, in our presence and in our midst, that we all hang on to every word. I walk away from some of the speakers on Wednesday, or all the speakers, all the contributors on Wednesday nights, and I feel that we're stronger and better than we were before we tuned in at 7 o'clock or at 6:30. We all have something good to share. It all takes place within the scope of what I represent behind me. That's why I'm proud to do this work. Reverend Jerry is one of the most compassionate, supportive, loving, empathetic human beings, and she's leading us right now during this transitional period. And we're on the cusp of, which we will do, and we're going to run over, I'm sorry, of a shift here at our center. We've been calling for the new minister. We're in the process. That is going to happen shortly in the next couple of months. The process has begun. Candidates have responded. They're being reviewed and they're going to be invited. We're on the cusp of exciting times at our center. And it's people like you that join us here tonight, the people that join us on Sundays, the leaders we've had, the leaders we're going to have. All of you guys, you're great stuff, you're star stuff. I'm so blessed to be in your presence. So I breathe that into existing because there's something I've learned through my studies. I wish Sabrina was here tonight because I attribute it to her, but it goes back to actually Reverend Francione, that we speak it into existence. And that's what we do on Wednesday nights. We speak that thing called you into existence. So Zoe, thank you for taking us on this journey tonight. I've got some announcements that are really important because next Wednesday night is something exciting that's going to continue this line of thought that you guys have all expressed tonight. So I'm excited. But let's go, Peter, when you're ready. This Sunday, July 31st, please join. It's Practitioner Sunday. Constance Chapman and Judith Roberts, as they explore the topic of the one and only. 2 musicians new to Oakland Center will be playing. So please tune in or join us. Don't miss it so you can see who the new musicians are. You can join us in person, or you can join us on live stream from the website, from the comfort of your home. Meditation at 10 and the service at 10:30. Don't forget to visit another resource that we have at the center to strengthen us, to see us through these difficult times. At our bookstore on Sunday, there are lots of new products and new books for your enjoyment. Next Wednesday, August 3rd, I, Paul Prasuti, and the Dr. Dan team, led by practitioner Dodie Cheney Fernandez and congregant Deborah Jackson, will take you on a special and vivid exploration of the daily devotional reading of Dr. Daniel Lee Morgan entitled Coordination of Spirit, Soul, and Body. And it's from his book, Guidance for a Spiritual Journey. The monthly theme for August is nature. And for the first week, the theme is Earth Force, report for duty. So make sure to report for duty next Wednesday night. Go to the events page to download a copy of the reading that we'll be exploring together. Meditation is at 6:30 and services at 7. Wednesday night services will remain in Zoom. Would you like to be more confident in your intuition, to listen more deeply to your inner guidance? Join Reverend Alan David Young on Saturday, August 13th from 10 to 4:30. As you trust and listen to your inner voice, your freedom and joy of life grows. Invest in yourself for only $120. Please register on the events page. On Sunday, August 14th, Lisa Ferraro is presenting a workshop after service, and it's called The Root of Yourself. In this experimental workshop, Lisa will weave laughter, simple and deep meditation techniques, and music all together to open the worlds of a higher vibration and a deep soul awakening. Each of us has a soul song, and our heart speaks that language. Experience the bliss of the soul. A love offering will be gratefully accepted. Please know that the youth and family facilitators are now taking the 5th Sundays to rejuvenate and reset. This Sunday being a 5th Sunday, since they won't be here, we lovingly invite the children to join us in our child-friendly sanctuary. It's official. We are having a party and barbecue on Sunday, August 28th at 12 noon at our center. Please mark your calendar and join us for a welcome back barbecue that also will have a love offering involved. And as always, for more information on everything that's going on here, please check out our website, the events page. We also can be followed on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And you can also look at the Village News with lots of information in there for you. Let's take a moment and read the New Minister's Covenant. I'll read it if you'll follow along. Let's take a breath collectively, because here's our hope. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. And knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to reveal spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of God as wisdom. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by Spirit. For it is written, I am filled with divine wisdom. I allow divine mind to fill my mind now. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as unity in the community. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself. For I am inspiring unity and diversity, embracing and nourishing our community. I am awakening the wisdom within. I am healing and expanding our community with the power of love. I am engaging the community and building a world that works for everyone. I am deepening family consciousness. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they are revealed in a way that illumines spirit and serves the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful God is gracious, and so it is. Ashe. So in this moment of gratitude, turning within, knowing our one source, our one divine activity is spirit working in, as, and through us, that manifests in the way of our time, treasure, and talent. I encourage you to consider an offering to the center and hold it close to your heart and read along with me a giving affirmation. I give and receive freely and generously with an open heart and open mind, blessing the flow of prosperity in the world. So I release that thought as I release my gift and put it in the digital offering basket. Whether it's time or treasure or talent, we know that only we get more back than whatever we can possibly give. As Zoe sat in the desert and looked at the sky, he received a generous gift, far greater than anything he could have ever known. So the potential is there. So how can we donate to the center? You hear me say this every Wednesday. You can donate through the webpage for credit card. You can mail a check at the address that's on the webpage. You can text it at the text number there. Or if you use Zelle, you can use giving at oaklandcsl.org. As well, if you can join us and are willing to be with us in the center, we have lovely offering baskets to receive your gift. So I bless those gifts and I release them knowing that it only improves everything for not only us, but for everywhere in the world through our work, through the things that we do here at our center. And those finances help us do that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So being in a grateful moment, I want to thank some folks real quickly that helped make this event happen. First of all, I want to focus on Zoe for a moment. Thank you so much, Zoe. You bring us so much inspiration. You bring exactly what we need all the time in the many capacities that you fill at the center. So thank you for everything in that arena. I also want to do a shout out to Reverend Jerry, who couldn't be with us. She sends her love, but she's always supporting us on Wednesday nights from far away and maybe not on Zoom tonight or next week, but she's thinking about us and wanted me to tell you that she's sending our love, her love to us for us to enjoy. I need to thank that Zoom team. Peter up in Portland, God bless you, baby, for keeping it all together for us. Alice and Helene, you're out there working in the background. I am so appreciative, so much of your service for the Wednesday nights. Also to Constance, Peggy, and John, who put all the stuff together. And I always have Zoe in my back pocket, so I'm thankful for that. So as we move on in our service tonight, I thank you all for being here and sharing it with us. I look forward to more Wednesday nights with you. Please come back and tell your friends and stay tuned for more. And with that in mind, Zoe, at this time, if you'd be willing, we don't start Wednesday nights without prayer and we don't end it without prayer. So Zoe, if you'll take that on.
Actually, I'm going to go with the Lucian solution.
The Lucian solution, is he available?
Indeed he is.
I'm here.
Oh my. We're having a preview of his next visit in this moment. Thank you, Lucian.
All right. Thank you again, Zoe. As we go within, we take this time to remember the truth that there is only God. Every breath, every heartbeat, every thought. And in this perfect life of God, I, Lucian Baker, am declaring that we are God people, that we are of God, of the universe. So therefore, we are nature, and nature is in us. So I celebrate the nature in me. I celebrate the nature in us, knowing that there is only one life. We are all individual expressions of that life. I celebrate it. I bless it, knowing all is well. I bless our speaker, our IT ministry, everybody who makes this thing happen, for we are blessed here. I bless our center. I am overwhelmed by God's goodness and God's prosperity flowing through every single one of us. I allow it to be, knowing all is well. I place it in the hands of the universe where the answer is always yes. I release free of doubt, free of concern. And so it is.
And so it is.
So it is. Thank you.